Welcome back to the Marketing Properties YouTube channel, where we talk all things property market with hints and tips and so much more. Today I'm going to be talking about the costs involved when selling a house, following on from our last video when we broke down estate agency fees for you. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it above. But today I'm going to be talking about the whole costs involved. So if you're ready, let's get to it. Moving home can be an expensive business, let me tell you. There are so many fees that add up and go into the several thousands of pounds. One of the biggest costs you'll face when selling a house is usually your estate agency fee. But to simplify this, you will either be charged a percentage of the sale price or a set rate, and it's important that you know which one. But it is possible to go it alone and sell your home privately. This is another area where our business, Marketing Properties, can help. We can eliminate all costs involved when it comes to the estate agency fees, the solicitor's cost, because you're going to save on these several thousands of pounds. We've also briefly touched on online estate agents, and even though they can be far less expensive than high street, they do not tend to offer the same level of service. Next, you need to consider the EPC cost. Anyone selling a home has to provide any potential buyer with an energy performance certificate for the property. An EPC provides the information about the energy efficiency of how your property runs, and it uses a scale from A to G, A being the most efficient and G being least efficient and therefore the most expensive to run. The average EPC rating for a home in the UK is D on the scale. You can expect to pay anywhere between £50 to £120 for this kind of certificate, and again, it is vital when it comes to selling your home, and it's also a selling point as well. For example, if you're selling a new build that you know is very efficient to run, that is going to be more appealing and more attractive to buyers. It's also worth noting that any certificate you obtain is then valid for 10 years, so if you bought your home less than a decade ago, you'll be able to use your existing EPC certificate and save yourself some cash. If you don't have an EPC, you need to get one through an accredited domestic energy assessor. You can arrange for this to be done through an estate agent, or you can simply go online and arrange one independently. Next is one of the highest costs involved when it comes to moving house, and this is conveyancing costs. When it comes to selling, you will always have a solicitor involved to make sure that the transaction is binding and lawful. So you'll need to hire a solicitor or licensed conveyancer to deal with all the legal aspects of the sale. They'll either charge you a flat fee or a percentage of the sale, very similar to an estate agent. You can expect to pay anywhere between £400 and £1,500 for conveyancing, and even more in some cases. It depends on how complex the transaction is. For example, if you're selling a home of non-standard construction, if you're selling a home where there are legal disputes and a lot more paperwork, research and actual work needs to be done, then your fees are going to go up. So it's always very important, especially if you're not sure, to determine if you're paying for a flat rate or if you're paying for a percentage, and then in addition to work that has been done. If you're buying a property through the same solicitor, you can usually deal with the transaction in one go, which is great because then you can go on to negotiate fees accordingly. If you're selling a leasehold property, there is usually an additional charge between £100 and £300 for the extra legal work involved, such as reviewing the lease. In addition to these fees, you'll also have to stump up the cash for admin-related costs, including copying of the deeds, which is a document which proves that you own the property. It's normally held by the land registry, and you can order this for between £4 and £12. There are also money laundering checks. This is done to check that buyers are who they claim to be, and this is normally between £8 to £15 a person. There's also a bank transfer fee, which is when you transfer large sums of money with your bank. Normally this is between £25 to £50, but it's always worth checking the conveyancing costs and shopping around, because 9 times out of 10 there is a deal to be had somewhere. The removal company cost. Now this is something that people tend to have in the back of their mind. They know eventually they'll be moving, but I feel like a lot of people don't actually realise just how expensive removal companies have become. I know from my personal example, when I bought this house a few months ago, I was astounded as to the amount that removal companies charge nowadays. So you need to budget for that cost, and you'll pay anywhere between £500 and £1,500, even more if you have a lot of stuff and a lot of items that require extra care. Of course, it also depends if they're packaging and they're providing packaging for the items and they're making sure that they're fully secured. So Just factor in these costs, budget for it, shop around, and of course with today's climate as well, with the way the market is, it is always worth putting a deposit down and securing a slot with the company that you can move the date of, rather than wait until the very end and then there's no availability for you to move. So make sure you factor in these costs because they do get very, very expensive. And those are the main costs when it comes to selling a house. Now, of course, there are always going to be things that crop up throughout the process, but what is sensible is when you're selling a house is to try and save as much money as you possibly can. And I don't mean by cutting corners. It's important that you make sure that any solicitors, any estate agents that you deal with are fully accredited and are regulated, for example, by the Property Ombudsman, and they have a full complaint and compliance procedure. But if you do want to skip the hassle and the massive expense of both estate agency fees, legal costs, then you can sell again to a professional cash buyer like Marketing Properties. Not only will we take care of 100% of the fees involved within the house sale, which means that all you have to do is concentrate on your moving costs and whatever you need for your next property. It also means that you can go into the transaction with complete peace of mind and the best possible financial position. Our details are on screen. Make sure you give us a call if you have any questions or if you would like to fill in our free evaluation form. Our website is also above. But thank you so much for watching. I'll pop any questions that you have in the comments box down below. Mark will be delighted to answer them for you, and we'll see you in our next video.